This Week in Connecticut with Dennis House starts now.
Thanks, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Dennis House. Straight ahead today, a big week in local politics. Congressman John Larson announces he is running for re-election. And then hours later, another challenge from within his own party from former Hartford Mayor Luke Brunin. Also, meet the Connecticut man hand-selected by President Trump to work in the administration. Dominic Lombardi is in from Washington talking about his job, the president, and others. Plus, an amazing breakthrough created right here in Connecticut, a vaccine that appears to work against cancer in dogs. But first, the lead, the battle over Congress in the 1st Congressional District, a sprawling district that includes Hartford and many of the suburbs, but stretches all the way out to Torrington. It has been represented by Democrat John Larson since 1999. But some fellow Democrats are saying it is time for a change, and they are jumping into the race. I sat down with Larson earlier this week. Congressman Larson, thank you so much for joining us here in the Hartford Newsroom. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Dennis.
So what are your plans for re-election? I covered your first race way back in 1998. What are your plans for 2026?
The biggest issue that this country faces is cost of living. And the group that it impacts the most are people on fixed income. Those happen to be senior citizens and children. It's long overdue that we pass not only to protect Social Security, but expand it so that these very people who haven't seen an expansion of Social Security since Richard Nixon was President of the United States in 1971 are able, in this post-COVID, post-inflationary time, to be able to have the money to merely survive. Imagine, Dennis, more than 5 million of our fellow Americans, most women, and of them, most women of color, get below poverty level checks from Social Security. You know, that is a sin. And so we've got a bill that's going to enhance Social Security across the board. We're going to make sure that no one can ever work all their lives and retire into poverty. We're going to take care of disability, which impacts our veteran community as well. Another thing people don't understand about Social Security, it's not just pensions, it's spouses, it's widows, it's dependent children, all of those issues. I think it will be, and as it was carried the other day in a number of journals, the issue that most people are going to depend upon, and Congress hasn't acted in over 54 years. We've got a bill that's going to be led by Speaker Jeffries. And so I'm calling him Speaker, but that's because our goal is to take back the House of Representatives, and it'll, in the first 100 days, it'll be one of the top bills that we pass.
So you sound like a candidate.
Yes, I'm definitely going to be a candidate.
When people say to you, well, I know you had a conversation with one potential candidate,
Sure.
Luke Brunin, former mayor,
Yeah.
who suggested that you should step aside so that he could run. How did he word that to you?
Very direct. He said, I'd like to ask you a favor. He said, I said, sure, what is it? And he said, I'd like you to step aside so I could run for your seat. So I started to laugh at first, but then I could tell he was serious. And I said, you know, Luke, with all due respect, you really don't know me. Do you think that I would work this long, more than a decade, to take a program that has been neglected by Congress, to bring it to this point, one that impacts 186,000 people in the 1st District alone? I said, to do that and not follow through on your commitment to the very people that you serve, and let's be clear about that, 40% of Americans, Social Security is the only benefit that they have in retirement, and they haven't received an enhancement. Now's not the time to walk away. Now's the time to step up. We've got a plan. We're going to make sure that that passes.
Did he tell you why he felt you should go?
He really didn't, other than to say that he said, well, you know, he says, I'm not saying you're Joe Biden. I'm not saying, you know, that you're older, et cetera, but, and, you know, you had that health concern. I said, you know, I'm the poster child for hydration now. I said, because I said, yes, it was a medication issue that was addressed, that's easily treated with medication. But I said, look at the tapes. Did you see the tape when we took on Elon Musk when he didn't show up? I said, you saw it. It went viral. I said, do I look like I was having difficulty speaking or not being able to address the Republicans for trying to have Doge come in and pour over people's personal records? I think I'm up for the task.
What kind of emotion did you feel when he said this to you?
Well, as someone, who helped him out a great deal when he was mayor, and someone who asked for my help and advice when he was running for governor, I was a little surprised. But, Dennis, we've both been around a long time. Nothing surprises me in politics, and he apparently had a change of heart, and this is what he's decided to do. And look, anybody is entitled to run for public office when they want to do it. Did I feel disappointed having had the relationship? Of course. But hey, that's his decision, and we'll be ready. We've got a record to run on. In politics and in government, you know this as well as anybody. Look, it's not only what you've done in the past, it's what you're currently working on and what's your vision for the future. I didn't hear any vision for the future. I didn't hear what he'd been working on in the past or what he's currently working on. I know what I'm working on. I know the fight that we're engaged with Donald Trump every day. And I know about the future, especially as it relates to cost of living for so many people in this district. That's why I'm running.
You mentioned President Trump a couple times. Do you have any relationship with him? Do you ever see him or talk to him?
Well, I actually talked to his daughter more than I've talked to him, but I do see him and engage. He's Donald Trump, and we're not going to let him get away with the things he's trying to do. We were just at the Boys Club and Girls Club yesterday. Our delegation came together and fought to restore $10 million that they had foolishly cut in the so-called big, beautiful plan. And the more that we expose that and look at it, now Trump's very clever. A lot of that won't take effect until after the midterms, and that's how he tried to sell it to the Republicans. But the American people aren't done, Dennis. You know this. They're feeling that, hey, look, there's something up here. And why should we cut SNAP benefits and nutrition for children, the elderly, and also for veterans and the disabled so that we can give billionaires a tax cut? Nobody's buying that. And we're ahead in the generic polls already, so we think there's a good shot for us to take on Congress and continue to take on Donald Trump.
You are confident that the Democrats can win the House in 2026. Where would that put you in terms of leadership?
That would make me the chairman of the Social Security Subcommittee on the Ways and Means Committee. The two most powerful committees in Congress are Ways and Means and Appropriations. And we will have everything to do with Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and also rolling back those tax cuts that he made, making sure that people get the insurance that they vitally needed, and also make sure that these poor people, these young children who were taking food out of their mouths to provide billionaires with tax cuts, that gets repealed.
As you look across your district and look across Connecticut, more people voted for Donald Trump the most recent go around than the previous two times that he ran. So he's getting a little bit more support here in Connecticut. Is there any common ground that you and the Trump administration could work on to move the country forward?
Well, there's always common ground. And as I said, I talked to his daughter during his first term, as a matter of fact, Ivanka, and she came in, and they were very serious about looking at Social Security because he actually took on the Republicans, including Mitt Romney, and said, look, and oftentimes the selling point on the part of the Republicans that this is an entitlement. It isn't an entitlement. This is an earned benefit. And Trump stated that in a Republican debate. And I think people are attracted to him because of the way he talks and speaks about things. They may not like him personally, but I think, as you indicated, voters were attracted to him. He is the President of the United States. But what he's doing and what he stands for is an abomination. And you got to be able to stand up and fight him on his level with the understanding and knowledge of what his programs will do and the havoc it will create for everyday working Americans. And that's what we're going to continue to do.
You've mentioned Social Security and a few other things. What other priorities would you have if you are reelected in 2026?
Always continue to be jobs and manufacturing. We're just at Pratt & Whitney's 100 years, et cetera. I am so proud to also chair the F-35 caucus and to work alongside of Joe Courtney and what we've done in this state. And three of us who are facing primaries, Joe Courtney, Rosa DeLauro, myself, the chair of Appropriations, a chair on Armed Services, and the chair of Social Security. We think the voters are intelligent in the state of Connecticut and understand in a system of seniority, when you work your way up to the top and you now are in a position to deliver, they get that and understand that, and that's what we intend to do.
So it's now official. You're running for re-election. Do you what's the theme? You know, what would be a slogan you might put together just like that? For
Listen,
re-election?
leads, and delivers on your behalf.
Congressman John Larson, great to see you here.
Good to see you, Dennis.
Thanks for being with us.
My pleasure.
There are at least 3 other candidates seeking to challenge John Larson, and we will have them on in future broadcasts. Next week, Luke Bronin. Later in Capitol Report, analysis of this week's developments. And when we come back, meet the Trump appointee from Connecticut.